First of all, I want to say thank you guys for being here. Thanks for the administration for having me to come out. And again, my name is Ernest James. I am a motivational speaker, as well as some other things that I've been blessed to be able to accomplish in my life. I'm a business owner. I have 2 podcasts. I'm also an author and a lot of different things. But I'm here to talk to you guys today about having a plan for your life. Because if you don't have a plan for your life, you're going to end up following everyone else's plan. So first of all, let me start with a couple questions for you guys. Who do we have here? Seniors, sophomores, seniors mostly. Come on, y'all gotta interact with me. Seniors, raise your hands. Juniors. Okay, we got a lot of juniors. Sophomores, freshmen. No. Okay, cool. So since we're in a room with juniors and seniors, 9 times out of 10, you guys are going to be transitioning out of high school, right? So how many of you guys have a plan for your life? How many of you guys know what you want to do when you leave high school? 1, 2. Okay, y'all got to raise your hands out so I can see y'all. So I have a question. Who is the youngest person in this room? Like 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds? No? So about 17. So 17 is the youngest person in this room. So would you guys consider 17 to be young? I'm sure, right? Okay. So I would voluntarily say I'm the oldest person in this room. I'm 48. In a few years, I'm 47. In a few months, I'll be 48. So if I'm old, right, or older, and you guys are younger, at some point there's a transition between young and old. So what would you guys say is that age when you transition from being considered to be young to now considered to be old? Anybody? What's the age? Because you consider yourself to be young now. So what age would you consider yourself now? Okay, now I'm older. 40? 25? 30? Okay. Generally, okay, that don't want to work. There we go. Generally, the age is 29. Generally, most young people say that at the age of 29, you transition from being young to being older. I don't want to say old, so I say older. So if the years of 19, let's say 19 to 29, that's 10 years of being young. But after those 10 years, you're going to be considered to be old or older. So if you live to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, we're looking at about a good 20 plus years of being older than you are being younger. So if that's the case, wouldn't it make sense to spend your younger years preparing for your older years, since you're going to be older longer than you're going to be younger? That would make good sense. But the problem is most kids spend their younger years being younger because they consider you guys being young. So you spend your younger years having fun, right? Doing what you want to do, kicking it, doing all the young things, not thinking about being old. But the problem is, most of you, or most people, spend their young years messing up. You get DUIs, you start messing around with drugs, start hanging out with the wrong people, you mess your credit up, all those things in your young years as your 20s. But then you spend your 30s and your 40s trying to prepare what you messed up in your 20s. And then once you get into your 40s, 50s, now you're trying to maintain what you now fixed. But if I can get you guys to work and spend those young years preparing for your older years, then we'll spend 10 years building, and the rest of our life, we just have to sustain the success that we already got. But that comes with having a plan. Because if you don't have a plan for your life, then you'll end up following Les's plan. So who is Les? Les is that person or those people who have suggestions on what you should do with your life when you don't have a suggestion for yourself. Those are the people that say, let's go do this. Let's go to the club. Let's go to the bar. Let's go here. Let's go there. And because you don't have a plan for your own life, you end up following Les's plan, right? So I want to tell you guys a story today about this dude. That dude, that's me when I was younger, way younger than you guys, right? At an early age, when I was in grammar school, I was a smart kid, but I was a follower. Anybody want to admit that they might be a follower? I wasn't the class clown, but I was best friends with the class clown. So whatever he did, I did. Wherever he went, I went, right? Just following along with him because he was the cool kid. And I just wanted to be cool, right? So I ended up following him and doing the things that he was doing. He wasn't doing his work. I wasn't doing my work. He wasn't doing what he needed to be. I wasn't doing what I needed to be. So as a suggestion to you guys, be careful with who you're following. Be careful of the people that you hang with. Be careful of they. Because a lot of times we find ourselves in situations where we want to say, it wasn't me, it was them. But if you are with them, then you're a part of them. If you're with them, then now they are you and you are they. So we want to be careful of the people that we call our friends. Be careful of the people that we hanging with. Be careful of the people that we kicking it with. Because those same people may turn around and be a downfall to you instead of being a help to you. So here's me all the way back in second grade, being the follower, following the class clown, hanging out with him. And what happened was, by the time we got to the end of the school year, I realized a little too late that I was failing, that we both were failing. But our teacher knew that we were close. Our teachers also knew that our families was close. My dad was friends with his dad. His mom was friends with my mom. And so she came up with the idea that she didn't want to fail both of us. So she said, well, one of you guys is going to fail and one of you guys is going to pass. Guess who was the one that failed? Me. I was the one that she chose to hold back a grade. And so now, I don't know about you guys, but when report card time comes, we had to answer to the judge in my house. And so in my house, the judge was my father. So let me tell you a little bit about my father. My father came from a nice family, went to college. He was a jet mechanic in the service. He was a car mechanic. He went to the service. He went to college. Hardworking young man. Married my mom. Had a good job at that time back in the day where he worked for the phone company. And he was the guy that ran the lines, the phone lines and the wiring for the intercom systems and camera systems and all that inside like the large businesses and buildings. So he had a nice job at that time. And not only did he have a nice job, but we lived the American dream, right? Anybody know what the American dream is? The house. What is it? White picket fence, right? Big house, 2-car garage, picket fence with the dog. We had all of that. Then, all of a sudden, one day, my dad got laid off. He laid off from his job and ended up losing everything. So I have 8 siblings. So it was my mom, my dad, and then 9 kids. And we went from living in a big house, 2-car garage, with the dog and the cars. We had a camper. We used to travel in the summertime. All of that, living the American dream, to losing everything. And so this man, my dad, took us, and we went to stay in 1 bedroom in my grandmother's house. So you got a husband, a wife, and there are 9 kids staying in 1 room in his mom's house. But what happened, my dad being the man that he was, he didn't run off. He didn't leave us, right? Like a lot of people have. Some people have ran away from one child. But yet he stayed there with us. And not only did he stay there with us, but he began to work and try to put his life back together and rebuild everything that we lost. And so we end up moving into a house that really should have been torn down, right? Anybody ever been to a haunted house around Halloween time? You go to a haunted house? Yeah, well, if you've seen the house that we moved into, you would have probably said that was a haunted house, right? It was one of them houses that really should have been torn down. But instead of being torn down, my grandmother purchased it and we moved into it. But before we moved into it, it had work that needed to be done. So my dad moved into the house by himself while we were still at my grandmother's house. And he fixed up the kitchen, the bathroom, and one bedroom. Then he moved us into the house. So him and my mom took the one bedroom. Me and my 8 siblings, we all slept in the kitchen on the floor. And then we had the bathroom. But room by room, my dad worked on his house to fix it up until he fixed up all the bedrooms, the living room, the dining room, every room in the house. So in that same house, in the living room is where now I had to meet my dad to answer for the report card that I got, to answer for the fact that I had failed in school. So now I'm standing there in that living room in front of my dad, looking up at him to answer for the grades that I got. That day, I got the worst whooping I've ever had in my life. But my dad never hit me one time. But instead, he talked to me. And one of the things that he said to me changed my life forever. He looked at me in my eyes as a young boy, and he said, "I'm disappointed in you. Not only am I disappointed in you because I know you're doing less than I know that you can, I'm also disappointed in you because you carry my name. My name is Ernest Jr. My dad's name is Ernest Sr." He said, not only do you represent yourself, but you're representing me, you're representing your mom, and you're also representing the rest of our family when you go out to this world. And the way that you're representing us right now is not good. And he went on to say some other things, and I'm looking at him and tears in my little young eyes, and he had tears in his eyes to the point that he looked at me, he turned his back to me, and he said, "Go to your room." So I left out that day. Again, my dad didn't hit me one time, but yet those words stuck with me for the rest of my life. So when I went back to my room, I laid on the bed and I was crying. But I made a declaration to myself that never again would I hear my dad say that he's disappointed in me. Never again would I hear my mom say that she's disappointed in me. But from that day forward, I will become a son that will make my parents proud. So from that day forward, I became an honor roll student. I became a student of the month, won all kinds of awards, all those things. I went to high school. That was in grammar school. I got to high school. I finished high school in 3 years instead of 4 years. I graduated as a junior. Then I went to college. And I remember when I went to college and I graduated from college, I remember coming to my dad and handing my dad my college diploma. But this time, when I handed that to him and he began to look at it, it took me back as a flashback all the way back to when I was that young kid, standing in front of my dad to answer for the grades that I made. But this time, he didn't say he was disappointed in me. This time, he didn't say that I could do better. This time, he said, "I'm proud of you." So I spent my life making sure that I didn't disappoint my father, that I didn't disappoint my mother. And not only that, but also I'm the middle child and I'm the oldest of the boys in my family. So I had to be an example to my younger sisters and brothers of what that looked like to achieve, what that looked like to press forward in order to get the dreams that I wanted. So how many of you have people that's dependent on you? How many of you have people that's looking up to you to be an example, right? I'm sure we all have younger sisters and brothers that's looking at us. And not only our younger sisters and brothers, but also our friends, right? The people that we call friends. Because I can tell you right now, most of the people that you are friends with now, that's in this room, that's in this school that you hang with, a couple of years from now, you won't be friends with them no more. A couple of years from now, you may be in a whole different group. And sometimes that may be the best thing for you, right? So when I graduated as a junior and my friends that I hung out with graduated as seniors, I had a plan. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to go to school. I knew what I wanted to do as a career. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I was on it. Went to college, taking construction classes because I knew I wanted to work in construction. I had a plan for my life. So by the time I was 25, especially by the time I was 27, I had my own house. I had a truck. I had a motorcycle. Pretty much everything that I wanted. I was married with a child. One child who is my daughter. This is my daughter right here running the camera for me. So by the time I was 25, I say 27, I had accomplished all these things. My friends that I hung out with were still on the block. My friends that I used to hang out with, should I say, they were still hanging together. But their biggest problem was the fact that they hung together. Because as they hung together in a group, they all accomplished whatever the thoughts was for the group. Remember I told you guys that if you didn't have a plan, you'll fall for Les's plan? They all fell for Les's plan. Let's go to the club. Let's go get drunk. Let's go hang out. Because none of them had a plan for themselves. And it wasn't until they got into their 20s, late 20s, 27, 28, 29. Remember I told y'all about those years that you end up wasting? Then they said, okay, well, let's do something. And it wasn't until they started separating themselves from each other that they all individually started accomplishing things, getting jobs, going to college, all those things that they should have been doing in their early 20s, they now was doing in their 30s. So one thing that I want you guys to leave here with is knowing that you guys can accomplish whatever it is that you guys want to accomplish in your lives. And if you use the same model that I use, I want to leave you guys with the 3 Ps, right? So the 3 Ps is your person, your purpose, and your plan. So the first thing you have to find is your person. Who is the person that your success depends on, even more so than you? Because your success can't only be about you. Because if your success is only based on you and your desires, then when things get hard, you'll give yourself a pass. When you get tired, oh, I don't feel like getting up this morning, you won't get up. When you feel like things are so hard, it's like, you know what, it's too hard, I can't take it, you'll give yourself a pass. But if your person, the person that you think about, is more important to you than your own self, then you are pressed through for it. My person was my father. I couldn't let my father feel like I was a failure. I couldn't disappoint my father again. So my father became my person. So I want you guys to think about who your person is. And I want you to write down who they are and what relation that they are to you. Right? I want you guys to write it down. Type it in your phone, either or. Because I want you to have this so that when you're doing your work, your school work, when you're working on your job, when you're going to accomplish anything that you put your mind to and it feels like it's getting too hard, then I want you to think about your person. How is you giving up going to affect that person that's dependent on you? How is you not following through going to affect that person that's looking up to you? Again, I was trying to make my father proud. And also I was trying to be an example to my younger sisters and brothers. They were my persons or my people, for to say. So I want you guys to think about that. So who is your person that you'll be letting down if you're not successful? Who is the person who will be disappointed in you if you didn't do your best outside of yourself, right? Anybody got a person in mind? Your mom, your dad maybe, grandparents? I need you to take that in consideration and write that down so that you can always reflect back on it, that your success is more than just about you. Your success is not only dependent on you. You're not only dependent on your success, but there are other people that's dependent on your success too. So who is that person that's made sacrifices for you that you can be where you are now? And who is that person that's continuing to making sacrifices for you to get you to the next level, right? So you need to know who your person is. Also, you need to know what's your purpose. What's your plan for success? And why do you have to be successful? Right? So when we're thinking about not only ourselves, but we're thinking about our younger sisters and brothers, we're thinking about the family that we want, that we plan to have in the future, right? Our kids. Who is those people that's dependent on you to be successful? And what is the purpose that you have to accomplish for those people? And not only what is the purpose, but what do you want to prove, right? So I had to prove to myself that I wasn't a failure. I had to prove to myself that I could accomplish the things that I put my mind to. Because again, I knew what I wanted to do when I was younger. I knew I wanted to be a construction worker. I became a construction worker. I got a degree in building construction. I've been a bricklayer for 17 years. I knew what I wanted to do, right? So I knew my purpose. So you got to know your purpose. What is the mark that you want to leave on this world? When people think about you, what do they reply your name to? What is synonymous with your name? So when we think about Michael Jordan, what's the first thing we think about? Basketball. Right? Right. He has a legacy. So what is going to be your legacy? When people think about you, when you walk out of a room and someone is talking about you now that you're not in the room, what are they going to say about you? What is the thing that you want to accomplish? Lastly, what is your plan? When I graduated from grammar school, even though I graduated with honors, even though I had won all kinds of awards, I still felt behind because all of my classmates and all of my friends was a year before me. Because again, I failed. Second grade. So because I failed, I always felt behind. And everything that we got to do, I didn't get to do to the following year. So when they were going on senior trips, I couldn't go because I wasn't a senior. When they was going on graduation parties and all that, I couldn't go because I wasn't graduating that year. So I had to come up with a plan. And so my plan was to graduate high school in 3 years instead of 4 years. Because if I graduated with 3 years, I would graduate as a junior and my friends would be graduating as seniors, but we'll be graduating on the same day at the same time. So back then, they used to give us a syllabus where all of the classes that we had to take as freshmen, as juniors, as sophomores, they gave you all the classes that you had to take. You knew exactly how many classes you had to take, how many credits you needed, all of that. So when I graduated 8th grade, I got this syllabus. And I sat down and wrote out all my classes that I needed to take freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year, plus the classes that I needed to take in summer school in order that I could have all the grades and all the credits that I needed in order to graduate 8th grade or to graduate as a junior instead of a senior. Then I took my plan to my parents. And I said, hey, I want to graduate as a junior instead of a senior. So my parents went to the high school that I was going to, and we sat down with the principal, and I told the principal my plan. I said, I want to graduate as a junior instead of a senior. And so the principal looked over my plan, and she said, if you do it, if you pass every class, if you get all your credits, and you do everything that you need to do, then I'll let you graduate as a junior instead of a senior. And that's exactly what I did. I followed my plan to graduate as a junior so that I can graduate with my right class and no longer be behind. So I need you guys to think about, what is your plan? What is your plan that you're going to use to get to the next level of your life? What is your plan that you're going to develop for yourself so you don't end up falling for Les's plan? Right? What is that plan that you have? And also, what do you need to do to activate that plan? What are the steps that you need to make in order to make that plan come to fruition? So I told you guys about the 3 Ps. So I also want to tell you guys, when it comes to your plan, I need you guys to have the 3 Ds. When it comes to developing your plan, you need to have the 3 Ds. Number 1, you need to dream your dream. What is the dream life that you want in the future? What does that look like for you? Will you be married? Would you have kids? What kind of job would you have? How much money do you want to have? Where do you want to live? What's your dream? What is your future, your dream future looks like for you? Right? So the first D I want you to do is to dream your dream. Right? Dream in your mind what that future looks like for you. What does it look like? Again, where will I live? Where will I work? How many kids will I have? What school system will my kids go to? Right? I need you guys to have a vision of that dream for yourselves so you know what your destination is. Secondly, I want you to describe your destination vividly. So now that you have the dream, now I really need you to describe it to yourself. Exactly what that dream is. Where exactly would I live? Where exactly would I go to school? So it's one thing to have a dream and say, yeah, I want to go to college. But then now I want to really describe it. What college? What city? What state? What that really looks like. I need you to describe that dream to the best of your ability. Then lastly, I need you to document it. Because if you don't write it down, then it doesn't exist. One of the things that we learn as construction workers, when it comes to building things, we have contracts. But one of the things they always tell you, if the contract is not signed, then the job don't exist. Because anybody can tell you, oh yeah, I want you to build this big building for me. I want you to build this house for me. I want you to build this school for me. But until we sign the contract, it doesn't exist. So I need you to write a contract for yourself. I need you to describe in detail what does it take to get the dream life that you wanted. What does it take to get the dream life that you guys have dreamt for yourself? I need you to write that down, because when you write it down, then that will become your plan. Now you will know step by step what you need to do in order to accomplish the dreams that you said you wanted to accomplish for yourself. Now you'll have that. So last but not least, before I get out of here and before we recap, I want you guys to do me a favor. I'm sure everybody got their phones. I got a free gift for you guys. I need you guys to scan that, take a brief survey. It's probably like 5 questions, asking about what you got out of this presentation, things like that. And then I have a couple of free gifts that you'll receive at the end after you finish filling that out. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds just to fill that out. Then I'm gonna ask you guys a couple questions too, to see who is paying attention. So I got a couple t-shirts here. I asked a couple questions, and whoever can answer the questions, I'll give you a free t-shirt, right? So to recap, if you want to live a phenomenal life, you need to know your 3 Ps, right? Your person. Who is the person that you're doing it for outside of yourself? Who is the person that's going to benefit from it outside of yourself? Second one, your purpose. Why are you doing it? Whatever you go to do has to have a meaning for it. Because if it doesn't have a meaning that's important to you, If it doesn't have a purpose that you're fulfilling, you'll walk away from it when things get hard. Lastly, what's your plan? What's your plan to get there? What are you going to do to achieve it? What choices are you going to make? Right? Then, when you talk about your plan, your 3 Ds, dream your dream, describe your destination, and document the details. All right? So thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your time.